And we are live here in the Storycraft Cafe. I am your host, Hank Garner, and today I am so excited to have Chrystal Schleyer on the show with us. Chrystal has a brand new book just released yesterday, and it's called A Rather Peculiar Poisoning, if I can hold it there where the glare doesn't catch my Kindle. And what a fun, amazing book this is. Crystal, I started reading it lying in bed. And the next thing I know, it's like almost 2 in the morning. And
Oh,
I said, oh no, this is going to be a terrible day.
oh no, I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. That's one of the best reasons to lose sleep is when you fall into a story and you just have to keep flipping pages. That's
Oh,
what every author dreams of. So,
yes,
uh,
yes.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure. I love to start conversations off with a fun question just to
Mhm.
kind of set the tone. And one thing that I love to ask people is, what is your first memory of wanting to be a writer or storyteller?
I have a twin sister actually, and
Okay.
she was writing long before I was, and I had for years I had been like, one day I'll write a book too.
Yeah.
And she was basically like, then shut up and do it. So I was like, okay, I'll do that.
That's so
So
funny.
that's what got me serious about writing.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. I tell that I threatened to write a book for a long time, and one
Mhm.
day my wife was like, "Well, stop threatening and start writing." So yeah, that's you
Sometimes
need
you
that.
need that.
Yeah, you need that person in your life that'll just tell you, "Okay, stop talking about it and just do it."
Yep, yep.
Were
Pursue
you
it.
always a were you always a fan of mysteries?
Yes, but I never thought I could write one. So for years I wrote young adult sci-fi and fantasy.
Okay.
And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try and write a mystery. It's one of my favorite genres, so I'll give it a go.
I had an aunt, my mother's younger sister. When I was growing up, she would pass along boxes of books to me, and
Hmm.
and she loved old Star Trek novels
Hmm.
and like Agatha Christie mysteries, like classic mysteries, twisty whodunits, things
Hmm.
like that. And like you, I became a fan of mystery early on and just loved those stories, but also I felt like that, I don't know, I love to read them, I just don't know that I can craft
Yes.
the twist and the misdirection and all of that, and, so I'm actually writing one right now because
Oh,
I've always
nice.
wanted to challenge myself to do it.
Hmm.
Um, and it's so weird, because I've written, magical realism and science fiction, and that was, uh, easier to me for some reason.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
What do you think the hang up is to the hurdle that prevents us from wanting to write mystery and when so many people love the genre, what do you think the hurdle is that keeps us from doing it?
For me personally, I think I was like, I'm just not smart enough to pull a shock on the reader. So
Yeah,
I was like, can I surprise them? And for
yeah,
a long time I was like, I don't think I can. So hopefully this book does.
yeah. It's amazing. I love the twist um, on some established tropes,
Mhm.
and trope has become such a dirty word for so many people, like
Mhm.
what they don't understand is it's the material that you build something from.
Yeah,
It's the
you're not
raw material.
copying. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so when you first started thinking about writing a mystery, like, what were some of the touch points that you're like, "Okay, if I'm gonna do this, it needs to be this," like, kind of how do you start thinking about shaping the story?
I wanted twins, and so I built off of my I'm a twin myself. I built off of that relationship.
Yeah.
Nothing like the twins in the book. Um thankfully.
Dear God, I hope not.
No, no. Um so I wanted that, and then I always loved Downton Abbey. So I was
Yeah,
like, let's throw those two things together and see what comes out.
yeah. Were were you inspired by some classic mysteries? Like, I love that there seems to be a renaissance, and maybe it's not a renaissance. Maybe they've always been there, and I just have not paid close enough attention.
Mhm.
But in the mystery slash thriller space, there are trends that come and go. There
Mhm.
the Gillian Flynn unreliable narrator. There's
Mhm.
kind of all of these trends that come. But then there's the steady stream of the classic whodunit that kind of
Yeah.
is always there, but it seems to be there's a resurgence there, or maybe uh, more of a pop cultural recognition, with things
I
like Knives Out and
Yes, I was gonna say, I think Knives Out may have done that. I think it opened up the genre to more people that normally wouldn't read the books necessarily,
yeah,
but exposed them to the genre. And so, yeah, it's a little more mainstream now, I think.
yeah. You said that you had written sci-fi and fantasy or
Yes.
young adult, like
Hmm.
for how long? And like what how long were you in that world? And tell me about the transition to writing
Okay.
adult mystery.
Okay. So I've been before I got my agent, I had been
Yeah.
writing for 12 years prior.
Okay.
So I started I started writing a young adult dystopian after the dystopian craze.
Mm,
And then I wrote young adult sci-fi after just after like I basically wrote after every craze
understood.
because that's what was out and I was like, "Oh, that's what my mind is on." And then I wrote a fantasy but before the whole romantasy phase. So I
Mm,
kind of missed the market on a lot of things.
yeah.
Um and I was like, I young adult sci-fi wasn't selling well and I was like, I've written so many young adult sci-fis that didn't go anywhere. So I was like, I'm just going to start something completely different
Yeah.
and hopefully there's room for it in the market.
I I think there's plenty of room for it in the market. That is an interesting observation about missing the market, because I think that's how most writers come to the market. Is like they
Mhm.
go to the bookstore. Okay, this is hot right now. Now I'm going to
Yes.
spend 2 years working on a book and trying to sell it, and not realizing that the market is continually shifting.
Oh, yes. And I didn't realize when I first started writing that like this is the current market. Whatever you're working on is going to take 2 years if you sell it right away. 2
Exactly.
years to hit shelves and I think that was a surprise to me too. So while there is no guessing the market really, um I also didn't want to be writing for trends that passed.
Right. Well, an interesting thing is trends have a way of coming back around. And
Yes.
so, do you have some of that work that you've saved up for, one day when, trendy YA sci-fi, rears its
Yes.
head again?
I actually just went through a YA closed circle sci-fi murder mystery. So I guess I was still
Ooh,
trying to write murder mysteries, but they were set in space. So I mean, I grew up reading all the Star Wars books and everything. So sci-fi, I grew up on sci-fi and
yeah.
just love it. So I just went through that manuscript and cleaned it up and stuff, and hopefully, maybe one day it'll hit a shelf. I don't know. I know
Yeah. Well,
dystopian's back, so maybe sci-fi will sneak its way in.
right, right. And it never hurts to have, those just sitting in your toolbox ready
Yes,
to go
yes.
whenever. Yeah.
Mhm.
So when you decided to shift gears and write mystery, um, did you have the realization that, okay, I've missed kind of this genre bump over here and this genre bump? Like, what were your inclinations coming into writing a mystery? And did you think about all the market stuff when you went into it, or was this just an exercise for you?
I think it was both. It took probably it was my sixth manuscript of being like, wow, I've missed the market on this, and I've written 6 books so far that have that I was like, what is something first that I enjoy? Because I don't want to
Yeah.
write something that I would hate. and just trudge through. So it was like, what's something that I would enjoy that has like a lasting market almost. And
Right.
I feel like cozy mysteries have always they've been around for so long and
Right.
they don't go anywhere. So just decided to give it a go.
Yeah. I read on uh I guess it was probably the NetGalley site where
Mhm,
I was reading the description of the book before I started reading it, and someone had used the term cozy mystery, and I love cozy mysteries.
mhm,
But it has uh, that has come to mean a certain style of story because there's so many in that genre that that have become popular and that
mhm,
people really love. And but cozy mystery is really a broader umbrella
mhm.
than just the the grandmother who knits, who,
Yes.
finds bodies outside her door,
Yes.
or
And
the cat that lives in the bake shop.
yes, and I didn't real I this is almost embarrassing to admit, but I did not realize I was writing a cozy mystery until I spoke with my editor and she was like, "We've been on the lookout for a cozy mystery." And I was like, "There's no it's it's not like Cinnabons and lattes and stuff like that." So I was like, I write a cozy mystery? It's very gothic, very moody and dark, and not like bodies like light-hearted body and with
Yeah.
bodies. So I was surprised. I thought I wrote a thriller at first.
Well, for our listeners, l- help us to kind of dispel some of the myths, or maybe define some of the genre specifications that make it a cozy mystery. Like,
Mhm.
did you have a conversation with your editor about why this falls the way it does?
I think it falls under it. I was thinking about that, and I think because a lot of emphasis on the book is put on the character development and the relationships, not just where a thriller is more plot driven, I think, and fast paced, and it just keeps going with the clues and the murders and everything. Where this
Mhm.
one is, um, hopefully, like you said, you can't put it down, but I do think it's a little bit slower. It doesn't have the classic sleuth or detective or anything.
Mhm.
So I think that was another reason I was like, I didn't write a cozy. So I think the characters being more focused helps it make it be a cozy, I think.
Gotcha. Just kind of the close character work, and
Yeah.
there's no gore in the book. Like,
No,
I
there's
don't,
not.
so Y maybe that also,
Yeah,
but,
so less thriller.
yeah.
Yeah, it's focused more on the relationships and why there's murders happening rather than like I guess the gore and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
that.
Well, when I started reading it, kind of all of those, initial thoughts go out the window when you get into the narrative, and
Mhm.
you're like, "Well, this doesn't feel like Cinnabons and lattes," like you said.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I was transported, which is what you want when you pick up a book. You want to go somewhere else. But I was really intrigued with the characters and the set of twins, Easton and Weston.
Mhm.
Can we just start talking about them? You said you are a twin.
Yes.
Um, what did your sister think about you writing this pair of twins?
She knows it has no relation to us. So
Yeah,
we would never be as rivals and
yeah.
jealous. Like she is an author as well, and she is debuting just a few months after me, and it's been nothing but encouraging and rooting each other on. So I would say like the opposite of the twins in the book, and she knows that like we've got nothing in common with Easton and Weston, but they were so fun to write. I loved giving them ridiculous twin names because I feel like every twin has matching names. My sister is Christina and I'm Crystal. So that was a fun part to write on them. And I also enjoyed while the main timeline in the book, you see all of their rivalry, competition, and toxic bitterness and jealousy. You get the flashbacks of when it wasn't always like that for them.
Yeah.
And so giving both sides to their relationship was really fun for me to write.
Um, when like when you started working on the what the plot of the book was, did you know that
Mhm.
you were going to have this set of twins? Were they going to be kind of the pivot point for the story?
Yes. When I started writing, I only knew the ending. Um, and I had to work backwards from there to create all of the problems. But I always knew it was going to be twins and Eloise. All the other characters I discovered along the way, but those three and their core plot points I didn't know.
Gotcha. Um, Are you a planner or a pantser? If we get into the discussion that divides, the writing community,
Hmm.
are you a planner or a pantser? How, how do because you said you've written 6 novels before this,
Hmm.
and you're a 12-year overnight sensation. Um, like how do you find where your writing style, we all kind of evolve and grow, but
Hmm.
like, where are you now?
I I am very much a pantser until very, very recently, because now I have to send stuff out with the synopsis and know
Mm,
what's going to happen, which is new territory for me because I have pantsed every book I've written.
yeah.
So my hope is that maybe learning to outline helps drafting
Yeah.
not feel like pulling teeth, because I would love to edit and only edit if I could.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's define your pantsing process,
mhm,
because some people think pantser means you sit down at the keyboard and you have no earthly idea what's going to happen, and the spirit moves your fingers and a story pops out. I think that's what most planners
mhm,
think that a pantser does. In my mind, because I'm kind of a plantser now.
mhm,
I
yes,
was a pantser, and I'm working with more of a plan now.
mhm,
But for me, I always knew where I was going. I didn't know
mhm,
like all of the twists and turns that would happen along the way, but I always had a destination. I
yes.
always knew where I was riding toward. Wa- Was that true for you? Like what does pantser mean to you?
Yes, I always knew the ending, and so it
Yeah.
was really just figuring out all the threads and problems to throw in to get
Yeah.
to that ending. But also, eh, as a as a pantser, it's not like I have no idea what's happening. Everything's just in my head.
Yeah.
I just don't write it out and plot point it and make a spreadsheet, I guess, like
Yeah.
some people do.
Yeah.
So everything's just stuck in my head, and my brain works that way best.
Did you plan or pants a rather peculiar poisoning?
Pantsed.
Uh, did if you're writing a mystery and you've got, there are twists and threads that weave all the way through it. Do you find yourself kind of at the end of the first draft stage, and then you're kind of breaking the story apart and kind of outlining in reverse, so that you kind of see where all the pieces fall, or what is your revision process like
There
at the end of a first draft?
Not there wasn't a whole lot for this book. I
Yeah,
tend to be a edit as I go person.
gotcha.
I used to edit for a small press, so it's really hard for me to let that editor
Understood.
go.
Yeah,
So the by time we got to the end of the book, I am an underwriter, so the most that got changed in revisions was another plot point got woven into it.
mhm,
Um, to add 10,000 words so that it was a real full book.
yeah,
Other than that, the book stayed largely the same as when I finished my first draft, and I think that's because I can't let go and not edit as I go.
yeah. Define underwriter. Are you saying that like you had opportunities to flesh out scenes and add more detail and more plot points, like you just said? Like
Mhm.
like how many words did you finish with and on an underwritten
My
novel like this?
my goal is always just get to 60,000 words. If you can do that, you can flesh it out a little bit more. A
Right.
rather peculiar poisoning was 70,000 words when it
Okay.
was agented, and my agent was like, "We need to flesh this out a little bit more. How about these ideas for giving it a little more words than it's already only about 80,000 words, I think. So it's a fast, quick read as it is. So when I write, my worry is, do I have enough words for a real story?
Right. Right. So let's talk about that agenting process.
Mhm,
You have a finished novel, 70,000 words or so, and you're happy with how the 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 mystery lines all
mhm,
laid out. Like, what do you do then? What was your process for getting it out there? And with your previous experiences, of kind of missing, what was
mhm.
happening in publishing at the time. What kind of expectations did you go into it with this time?
Hope that just hope,
Yeah.
but not actually expecting it.
Yeah.
It's hard to even still realize that yes, it's a book that's out there now
Right.
because you go 12 years of writing with only hearing no's. It was surreal to get an offer.
Yeah.
So I think I normally would query a book until all the agents that I really knew and liked passed, and then I would be working on the next one and then query the next one. And this book, I think I was in the query trenches for 3 or 4 months.
Okay, not
And
bad.
my agent, yes, especially in this landscape, because 12
Right.
years ago, querying had so many more responses, and now it's mostly silence. It is
Mhm.
hard in the query trenches now.
Right.
Um, but it took 4 months, and my first query had no bites, none. And so I
Mm,
rewrote it, had friends look at it, and that the new query started getting responses and a new title. And I think that helped a lot because the very first title was just The Engagement Party.
mm.
And I think that sounded more like a rom-com now that
True. Yeah, I can see
I
that.
think about it. And
Yeah.
so I think changing the title, rewriting the query really helped get it more notice than it had been getting.
Got
Um, so I got an offer, um, and then I like every author does, sent out and told all the agents that had it requested, "Hey, I have an offer," and then my current agent offered, and she's who I went with.
nice. One thing that I love about the book is that it's set in 1910.
Hmm.
I think is when the
It's
incident, and yeah, and then
yeah.
there's some a little time shift,
Mhm.
about 5 years, I
Yep,
think, as you're
yep.
kind of unfolding things. Um, but one thing I've thought a lot about is that there are so many mysteries, that if they were set in 2025, could be resolved by picking up your cell phone.
Yes.
And you know, and so I've seriously thought about setting a story in, like, the 1980s, like, when I was
Mhm.
a teenager or something, because, 1, I
No
understood
phones.
I understood kind of what the technological limitations were then,
Mhm.
and that just when you're writing a story and trying to set up hardships for people, that's a big thing.
It is.
What was some of your thoughts about setting the book when you did?
Okay, my editor actually asked me this when I first talked to her. She's like, "Why 1910?" And I was basically like, "No cell phones." No cell phones
Nailed it.
and inheritance laws still.
Mm,
which is a big issue in the book, that one of the twins inherits everything and the other doesn't,
right.
including custody of their sister. Without that, like, the whole book would fall apart.
Right.
So that was a big reason why.
Yeah. That I did did it take much pondering and going through to kind of land on a time where all of the pieces would work, or did you go into it thinking, around turn of the 20th century or so?
I think the biggest thing was, I before World War I, so
Mm,
that real major world life events weren't in the background where they should have been in the forefront of a story. So I just around those things.
gotcha. Gotcha. Um, with the book released yesterday,
Hmm.
and if we know anything about the publishing process, this is you probably been in the trenches working on this for probably a year with the publisher. Like what when you got your agent and you went through some revisions with that agent, and then uh started working on landing a publisher, what was that process like? And then when you got to the publisher, did you go through another round of edits and another person's opinions start working their way in?
Yes. So after edits with my agent, we went on submission and it sold within 5 weeks, which was just insane
Amazing.
to me after 12 years.
Right,
Um,
right.
and I loved my editor that we sold to, and then she left for a better job, which I was so, so happy for her.
Yeah.
And so my book ended up falling into the lap of my current editor, and she has just been wonderful. So while we did two rounds of edits, it didn't change much from the edits I did with my agent. It was mostly like, you tend to repeat this word, this phrase, or
Mhm.
this word a lot, and
Yeah.
so it was cutting out all those extra repeats mostly.
Nice. So the structure of the story didn't
Nothing,
change?
no, nothing changed like that.
Oh, that's amazing. That had to be a good feeling.
Yes, it was. It was very quick edits then.
Nice, nice. Well, for someone who came to the genre after, trying other genres, did it feel like, "Okay, I finally found my place. This is where I fit in."
I hoped. It
Yeah.
was more of, I'm my critique partner is Andy Pliego,
Okay.
and so she read this book in chunks as I was writing it, and she was the one that was like, "This is it, Crystal. This is your book. Um,
Wow.
don't stop writing it." And so I think I would have stopped writing it if it weren't for her pushing me and being like, "No, I think this is actually the one."
That's
So,
amazing. That's amazing. So what are you working on now? I'm sure this has been off your desk for quite a while.
mhm.
What's currently running through your mind and your keyboard?
I just gave my agent a list of 4 ideas, and she picked one that's 4 ideas that I like, but I was like, what do you think is best?
Yeah,
And it's another historical 1920s jazz age
love it.
mystery that I hope makes it to shelves one day.
Love it. Love
Mhm.
it. Well, Crystal, this is an amazing book. I love it. I know other people are too. If you're a fan of mysteries, this is needs to be a must read. If people are just discovering you and want to follow along your journey as
Mhm.
as things open up and more books come out, where's the best place for them to find you?
I am most active on Instagram. I think I have a TikTok, but I almost never go on there. And Threads, but I almost never go on there. So if you want to find me, come over to Instagram. It's just my first name underscore and last name.
Excellent. We'll link that up in the show notes to make it easy for folks to find you. The book, A Rather Peculiar Poisoning, available everywhere now. Grab it on your Kindle, grab it at your local bookstore. Is there an audiobook of it? I
There
forgot to look
is,
on Audible.
yes, and Susie Riddell narrated it, and she is just fantastic.
I'll bet. I'm gonna go look it up. I bet that's fantastic. Crystal, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.